I'm going to talk about a concept that is quite well known in this generation, and it's basically the fact that we don't have a physical war. Right? Our past generations, they had to deal with World War One, World War Two. There was like Cold War, and a bunch of other things. But we don't have a physical war. And I think this concept's also been spoken about in Fight Club, and that's like how the whole Fight Club thing started, right? But we do have a war, and ours is a psychological war. Don't be fooled into thinking otherwise, right? And we are losing this war. We're getting our backsides handed to us every single day. It wouldn't be the case if we weren't on our phones every day. We wouldn't be so addicted to our phones every day if we weren't losing this war, right? You don't want to be on this video watching how to build mental resilience. If you ask the old generation how to build mental resilience, they just tell you, go and do it, right? We went to war. You just had to do it. 16-year-olds dying in war, right? They're going. They've just got that mentality. You grow up knowing that there's going to be a war very soon, and you got to be ready to fight for your country. You got to be willing to be that guy that's going to war. You're on the front lines and you die within 2 minutes, and that's an honorable death, right? Something like that is scary. It's sobering, but there's no how do I build mental resilience, right? You have to do it, because who else is going to go to the front lines, right? But you don't want to be watching these videos on how to build mental resilience, right? You kind of know what you need to do to build mental resilience, but you're still watching, hoping to get that motivation. And this is exactly what I mean when I say we're losing this war. We're getting absolutely destroyed, right? So I'm hoping that you understand that you are in a war right now, and you realize just how serious this is. And I think that would be step one. I think this is like a well-known thing. I think they've spoken about the war. They say like rule number one of winning a war is knowing that you're in one, right? So I'm hoping that you know that you're in a war, otherwise you wouldn't have like clicked on this video. But going on to step two, you just stop waiting for everything to be perfect, right? Like I said in the example that I gave, right? When you grew up knowing that you could be sent to war, when you're 16, you're probably going to have to go to war and fight on the front lines, right? It was an instant mindset shift, right? It was back against the wall. There's no getting out of it, right? If you're like a young man who didn't go to war, unless you were like injured in war or something like that, then even if you were injured in war, you're still kind of looked down upon. It's like, why aren't you going to war? Oh, I've got a medical condition. That would never go down well. You were looked down upon because everyone was expected to go. All the men were expected to go, right? And this is a similar thing you have to have now. Like you need to have like a back against the wall mentality. Like you're fighting for every opportunity you can to just build mental resilience. Now, stop waiting for like things to be perfect. This is an uphill battle. Like I said, the very fact that you're sitting here watching a video on how to build mental resilience just shows like how far gone we are as a generation, right? And it's not quite our fault, but it's our responsibility to get ourselves out. And the way you're going to get yourself out of this is to build the Goggins mentality. I know a lot of people say it's extreme, but that's what you need. Extreme, what do they call it? Desperate times call for desperate measures, right? Extreme times call for extreme measures. Once you realize that you're in a psychological war, and we're getting demoralized. Like, I don't think you people have realized just how like sad it is, right? How dystopian it is what they're doing, what these phones are doing to us. You've got a whole generation of men who've just been assistified, basically. If we were to have a world war now, I mean, again, I think there are people like you and me, like we'd still be flipping scared, and we wouldn't be anything like our past generations. But I think we'd probably still go to war and fight. But again, what they've done to this generation is absolutely mad. Like, you're addicted to a phone. You're addicted to a phone. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. You could be going out. I think the most damning statement is that we live in a world where we've got the most opportunities for connection in terms of like phones and everything. It's never been easier to connect with people across the world, but we're the least connected generation. I think that sums it up in like just how dystopian this is, right? So it's important, it's necessary that you get yourself out of this, and you become one of the men who are leading the next generation. You don't want your kids to grow up like this, right? And you want to make sure you raise like healthy kids. You want to have a family, and you want to be like in a good community. And I assume that that's what you want. I mean, it's certainly what I want. But whatever it is, you don't want to be doing this anymore, right? So you got to understand that it's an uphill battle. It's extreme. It's an extreme time. It's going to require extreme measures. You want to adopt the Goggins mindset. If you haven't read any of his books, I'd suggest you read them for obvious reasons. But you'll notice the things he does in the book, the things he tells you about. I mean, you probably don't even need to read his books to know this. You probably just watch a couple of podcasts and you realize that man is insane. Like he people call him like a masochist, right? Which is basically someone who relishes pain, like they look for pain, they look to create pain in their life, right? And it looks a bit crazy, but again, as I said, desperate times call for desperate measures. You need that kind of mentality because we've been wired to chase pleasure. And again, thousands of years ago, that was good, right? It was proper. You chase pleasure, like the pleasure of eating food. You needed to do it so you could like sustain yourself, right? Same with like sex, right? You needed to do it so you could reproduce and have kids. Nowadays, that's taken advantage of. They've got people working on like foods to make them as addictive as possible, right? Foods you don't even need. Do you know like sugar? Your body's not supposed to have sugar. It's not. Go search it up. I'm not like 100% sure of this, but I think I heard it from someone I trusted. It was probably a neuroscientist, probably Huberman. But your body's not supposed to have sugar. We're not meant to have it, but it's in everything nowadays, and it's so addictive. It's literally a drug that is legal. You understand how insane that is? They've got Hamza said it, right? You're fighting against thousands of like neuroscientists, not neuroscientists. You're fighting against thousands of like nerds that are researching every day how to make things more addictive, right? The Bible has a line where it says, "For we fight not against flesh and blood, but we're fighting against the principalities and the authorities of this world." Now, when I first heard that verse, I never really understood it because I have like the accountability mentality. I thought it would be the other way around, right? We're not fighting against like higher powers. We're fighting against flesh and blood, because if you can overcome your own flesh and blood, then nothing outside can hurt you, right? The enemy, if there's no enemy inside, the enemy outside can do us no harm, that kind of thing. But I've started to realize what that Bible verse means, right? And yeah, we're fighting authorities above us. It's insane. Like we're fighting crazy things, and we need to have like community, and we need to fight back against it. And when you realize how crazy this is, and I said that the thing I said about food applies to social media as well, right? Like it's preying on our. They're definitely preying on like our lust, right? Which is like almost like natural, almost primal. Desires, right? You want to have kids, like it's very important. So like that desire is it's intense. It's an intense feeling, and they take advantage of that. If you've ever noticed, I think I noticed it when I saw my uncle on his like TV. Obviously, like he has like his channel or his account, and you can watch on the guest account. I clicked on the guest account, right? And you know, like no one's watched anything on the guest account, so they don't have like anything. They don't have a basis to see like what to recommend to you. The default things that they promote there, it's always sexual things, and it's on YouTube, and you can see like the thumbnails. They're very provocative, and when you realize something like that, it makes you just see like this is insane what they're doing to us, right? And when you realize how insane that is, you realize just how extreme you need to be. So going back to the point I was making, you need to make sure that you're looking for opportunities to callous your mind, right? And I would say the good news is that you don't need to go on like 240-mile runs like David Goggins does, right? You probably have enough obstacles in your life nowadays. Like just the very like goal that you'd set to like say, I'm gonna sleep and wake up at the same time every single day. I'm not gonna watch content. I'm not gonna watch entertainment content or content at all. I'm gonna eat clean. I'm gonna work out. Just that. Doing that consistently, even for a month. Have you ever even done that for a month? Like ask yourself that, how difficult it is to get that done for a month, let alone a year, let alone for like 5 years, right? And when you realize how difficult that is what you can aim towards. You don't need to be like David Goggins looking for like runs every 3 months and you're going on like 240-mile runs, running over a couple of days. You realize how insane that is. You don't need to do all of that just yet. Right now, you've got your own problems to overcome. Sort your life out, and just do like the basic things that are really difficult for you right now. I think that's how you build mental resilience. Make sure you subscribe to join the Self-Improvement Brotherhood, and until next time, I'll see you boys.